We have the national youth policy. We have the national child policy, the national nursery policy, the national guidelines for children in disaster and emergency situations, the children in alternative care policy, the framework for children with disabilities, guidelines for child-friendly spaces, the National Youth Service Directory. We are providing for youth. We are not saying that the youth are the people of tomorrow. We are saying they are the leaders of today and of tomorrow. That is how we see it. So that you find we have established the National Youth Commission. We have revived the National Youth Council that remained. It was a PNM party group. When you want to represent Trinidad and Tobago, there was no kind of clear understanding. When you go to select someone, they say, you from the party group, you from the party group, you looking so, you're going to represent. But now we have very, very transparency. And you know what hurts me? These people, these bald-faced, shameless people, are now going through the constituencies that they neglected and trying to embrace the youth and say, vote for us. But they have a rude awakening on the 7th of September. I'll tell you something. The way your parents used to do it, the youths ain't doing it so again. Those who used to say, what? A born or what? I don't want to call it. I don't want to dignify it. I born a PNM, I go dead a PNM, and all this foolishness. The youths have made a paradigm shift with their thinking. They are saying, we are voting for performance, and that is why they are all supporting the People's Parliament. My brothers and sisters, it is amazing. It is amazing the intelligence of our youths. It is amazing when they say, and our Prime Minister said it, our children, what, the school books? What, the future of the nation in the book bag? And what did our Prime Minister say? She has embellished that. She said, the laptops, the windows to the world. You are now, how many laptops, Brother Tim? Brother Tim, how many laptops? 95,000 laptops. You know something? When it was first introduced, persons who were going to posture themselves as the possible Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, so we're giving them that for. You know what? Today we are proud to say that we have a 99.5% literacy rate in Trinidad and Tobago. And we are proud to say that all our children are today digital natives. They are all digital natives. And that is why when I was asked, how do you punish a child today? I say, in my time, it might have been corporal punishment. And I, as an administrator, used to say, the best channel to the brain is through the rear and crack them. That is a thing of the past. We cannot condone that. And I say, the best way to discipline a child now is to deny them some kind of technology. Take away the laptop. In other words, you can have discipline with any kind of physical punishment. And that is the kind of enlightenment that our charismatic leader, Kamala Prasad Visesa, is bringing to Trinidad and Tobago. My brothers and sisters, the future of this country, the present and future of this country lies on the shoulders of our youths. We have to embrace our youths. Give them an opportunity to blossom. Give them an opportunity to grow. Not only lip service, do as I say and not as I do. You must be seen and not heard, and all this kind of thing. Or you must be heard and not seen. That is how the last administration treated them. Think about some of you. You know what is happening? Look at the community centers. Look at the community centers. Do you think they are giving the youths a chance to run the community centers? No. No. Take, for instance, in my constituency, it remains in a dilapidated state because the people of the last administration hold on to it. because there is some clause in the Welfare Council and the Village Council saying, don't give it up, don't give it up. So they're not doing anything and denying the youth. But I tell you what, our enlightened government would make sure that we have sporting facilities developed for youth so that they can supplement their energies, so that they can maximize their potential. This is something that the former administration didn't care about. When we look at what we are doing now with our present-day assessment centers, you know what they used to do before? Take them, incarcerate them, say, oh, they are beyond control, throw them in St. Michael's, throw them in St. Jude's, then they graduate them to YPC, then to Carrera, the University of Aruca. What we are doing, we are building assessment centers. We are building rehabilitation home for them. We are giving them love, care, and attention so they can come back into the society and be good citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. My brothers and sisters, the time is now. We have to embrace everyone. There are many of those on the other side who want to come home. Embrace them. Help them. Be like some of the churches, some of the mandirs. Open up your hearts to them. Welcome them. Forgive them for their sins of the past for supporting that last administration. My brothers and sisters, the future of Trinidad and Tobago, the continued progress of Trinidad and Tobago lies under the leadership of Kamala Prasad Visesha. So come the 7th of September, there would be a rude awakening. And as I heard a sister on the COP last night said, there's going to be a lot of slipping. And I could tell you, coming from what used to be the landslip capital, we are going to let them slip away. We don't want PNM anymore. My brothers and sisters, I thank you. Continue supporting Kamala Prasad Visesha. Thank you.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome on Talk City 91.1 FM. This is our coverage here tonight of the UNC meeting. It's taking place at St.Helena Hindu School, and we just heard from the Minister of Gender, Youth and Child Development, Clifton Decoto, addressing several critical issues and telling the nation why, in fact, we need to continue to follow the People's Partnership and put them back in office. We're going to bring you all of what's happening here tonight from the St.Helena Hindu School. We've got so much more speakers to come, including the feature address by the Prime Minister and political leader Kamala Prasad Visesha. All that happening right here on Talk City 91.1 FM. I'm Larry Lumpton. I'll be your host for the rest of the evening. So stay with us and continue to enjoy what's taking place here at the UNC's political meeting. At the podium now is the chairman of this evening's proceedings, the Education Minister, Dr. Jim Gopi Singh.
Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, this room is full. This auditorium at St. Helena Hindu Primary School is filled and overflowing. And there are thousands outside on the streets and surrounding the building. We are giving them all the support that they can have outside. While we are inside, they're seeing what is happening and hearing what is happening. The Honorable Prime Minister had ensured that special needs children and special needs citizens of Trinidad and Tobago ought to be cared for in the most respectable manner. And from the education perspective, she made sure that we put over 700 personnel in our school population to care for our special needs children. Guidance counselors, guidance officers, behavioral, clinical, and educational psychologists, school social workers. She has also ensured that there is equity in salary for women. All the women of Trinidad and Tobago must have equal pay with the men. And that's the vision That's the vision of our distinguished Prime Minister. Equity in society, prosperity for all, and social justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, at St. Helena here this evening, I know that our next speaker might be a little anxious to speak to you all. He really is a person who needs very little introduction and no introduction. But a young person in chronologic age, but a senior person in the politics of Trinidad and Tobago, who started as a youth officer of the UNC at age 13. Over the last 5 years, this minister has led the lower house to 5 years of tremendous success and governance in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. You would have seen a lot of the good work he has done in housing being highlighted in the media over the last few months. For the first time after waiting decades in some cases, our fellow citizens of Trinidad and Tobago can finally call themselves homeowners. Tonight, we want to welcome the Honorable Dr. Rudal Munilal.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, St. Helena. And I want to tell you, when I was the youth officer, about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I was still younger than Fitzgerald Hines. The Honorable Prime Minister, Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar, Cabinet colleagues, executive members of the United National Congress, officers of our coalition partners present here this evening, ladies and gentlemen, constituents of Caroni East and surrounding areas, it's a pleasure to be here on this platform and to speak to you briefly this evening on matters affecting us as a nation and on a very important decision that Trinidad and Tobago must make come September 7th. Brothers and sisters, September 7th will be a day when the people of Trinidad and Tobago will make a decision to either continue and go forward or to go backward. It is an important moment in our history. Trinidad and Tobago is today an advanced, developing country with great human potential, natural resources, a stable government, a progressive and visionary leader, a kind, sympathetic, and compassionate Prime Minister. We have to decide whether we will give that up, whether we will allow a man who is consumed by anger and malice and hate, whether we will allow a man who has no plan, no strategy, no policy, whether we will allow him to become Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. You see right now, Keith Rowley, I don't even think he's in Trinidad. I think he's in Washington somewhere trying to beg some people to help him because his campaign has collapsed. The PNM's campaign has collapsed. They have named 41 candidates, of which you can remember one. They have named candidates in which they have selected no one of great substance, no one from the trade union movement, no one from the NGO community, no one from the church and religious community. They have named no single candidate who can capture the imagination of Trinidad and Tobago. They have collapsed. What is their plan? Their plan is to spend $25 billion in a racket rail. Their plan is to raise their own salary. He always crying, he gets out of parliament, and he has no money, he don't get money. He don't get pay. That's what they cry about. Their plan is to reintroduce property tax. Their plan is to introduce taxes upon you so that they could create revenue. They have no plan. So brothers and sisters, this is the government, this is the party that gave you the Children's Hospital, the San Fernando Teaching Hospital, the Point Fortin Hospital, the Arima Hospital, the Mayaro Fire Station. This is the government. And I want to warn you, the PNM with Rowley in the cabinet, the PNM left the Beach High School closed for 10 years. 1,000 children were denied an education in their community because of the spite and malice of the PNM in Beach. Don't forget that. God forbid they come into power. They will leave the Children's Hospital lock up. They will leave that for Karaili vine to grow. They will leave that to be overrun by snake and rat. That is the future of the Children's Hospital under Keith Rowley. They will not open it. Brothers and sisters, today, in your community, in my community, you can see the infrastructure. Kamla Prasad Bisesa has presided over a revolution in rural infrastructure. She has developed the roads in North Trinidad from Diego Martin to Toko along the East-West corridor. We have delivered schools, oh God. You could take the whole night if you have to read the list of school Tim Gopi Singh Bill. And ladies and gentlemen, he has been one of the most efficient in terms of building schools and creating the infrastructure for education. Caroni East today have benefited as Arapuchis. So ladies and gentlemen, let us don't make a mistake. Rowley has no plan. But you know there's a next character in this election I want to speak to you about briefly. It have a next character here. You see, the PNM don't have to come out and do their dirty work in an open way. They have sent Jack Warner to undermine and to seek to pull down the People's Partnership and Kamla Prasad Bisesa. That's the PNM MO. That fella, let me tell you something. That man is the epitome, the personification of a Nimakaram, if you will ever find one. Basdeo Pandey gave him the safest UNC seat. Kamla Prasad Bisesa made him chairman of the party, gave him one of the biggest and most powerful ministries. Kamla Prasad Bisesa put him to act not once but 5 times as prime minister. This is a man who would have gone to the home, the private residence of Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Her children, her sister, her grandchildren would have come and called him Uncle Jack. They didn't know it was Uncle Nimakaram. They would have brought water. They would have brought food. Let me tell you something, one thing with this lady. Anytime you go home by she had to offer you, they have to give you food and drink. They have to ensure you have refreshments. They are very kind people. They would have given him food to eat. What did he do? Man, he eat the food and then he pelt you with the plate. That is what today Jack Warner is attacking her sister, her children, her relatives in a place where they invited you, where they gave you food, they gave you refreshments, they call you uncle. And today you will come and attack her family. What manner of man is that? What kind of man is that will do that? This man is an Imakaram. Oh God, man, attack we. If you want, attack me. We are politicians, attack we. But do not attack our wives, the husband, the children, the family. You know the word nimakaram has a deeper meaning. Nimakaram doesn't mean ungrateful alone. It means that who suck your salt. When you feed people and you give them refreshments, you give salt. When you sweat, the sweat is salt. And when you take that, brothers and sisters, and then you betray, you suck the salt. You are more than ungrateful. That is not human behavior. In political life, I know you attack people, you fight them. Many of us, whether in UNC, PNM, wherever, we fight each other over the years. Huh? We're in different parties or internal election and so on. But you do not attack people like that and their families. That is, there's a line. But this man cannot even draw the line. Man, he must be teeth the line too. So, today, he is the most infamous fugitive of the United States. Wanted in the United States for corruption, racketeering, fraud. He wanted in America. That fella cannot even walk in front of American stores. He cannot go to the embassy for 4th of July celebration. And what happened? He gone pagal. He gone pagal. When they drop the extradition and then he get pagal. Mad. And today he's attacking the very hand that fed him. He's biting the very hand that brought a plate with food for you. That is a nasty behavior and conduct. And we have to condemn that. But you know, I want to expose him tonight. I have to. I want to bring Keith Rowley to answer a question tonight. And it has come to our attention, and we are asking the question. In October 2010, we were in government. Jack Warner went to Russia in October 2010 to meet Putin, the leader of Russia, concerning the World Cup. I want to ask Keith Rowley tonight whether Jack Warner telephoned him from Russia. Oh Lord, you get silent here now. Jack Warner, did you call Keith Rowley in and around the 20th of October 2010 from Putin's office in Russia, in Moscow? And if you did, why did you call him? What was it? Was it from Russia with love? What was it? From Russia with love? But I will tell you, at that time there was a lot of talk in the atmosphere by our enemies that the government will not last. And tonight I want to ask Keith Rowley whether Jack Warner sought his support for CONCACAF in the event that CONCACAF support Russia's bid to host the World Cup. Because Warner, feeling there may be a change of government, having no confidence in his own government, whether or not he asked Keith Rowley to support CONCACAF's bid to support Russia. Because they talk in October 2010 and he was in the office of the president of Russia. Keith Rowley has to explain from Russia with love. Because he has been in constant contact. Warner a few weeks ago was attending the parliamentary caucus of the PNM, where they were plotting with the motion of no confidence in Larry Hawaii. They have been working hand in hand. Today, Jack is trying his very best to deliver the government to Keith Rowley. And that is what you must stand strong and you must prevent. And my brothers and sisters, I have here the court documents involving Jack Warner and involving another businessman. I have court documents involving a business called Real Time Systems Limited against a business called Renoir and Jack Warner. And in this document, a businessman is suing Jack Warner for about, I believe, over about $70 million, saying that he took $70 million from him and didn't pay back. But you know, What is important in this court document? The businessman is saying that in February 2008, Jack Warner telling me expecting to get $10 million US from FIFA. And that is the same $10 million that South Africa gave to FIFA for the development of football in the Caribbean. And Jack is saying in these legal documents, I will pay you back when I get the 10 million US dollars from FIFA and from South Africa. The documents are here. You can now connect the dots. And when we raise matters like this, they attack us, they attack our family. Could you imagine a handsome fella like me? A handsome fella like me. They put a gorilla on the papers. And they superimpose my picture on the gorilla. Gangs, I tell them at least with me, you have to superimpose my picture. It has some people you don't have to superimpose them picture. But that is how they are. But you know, I don't mind that. You could put any picture you want about me. You could say anything you want about me. But, all right, Baba. I want to tell you something. When they attack innocent business people, it must affect all of you. Hard-working businessmen and women in this country are now being criminalized by Jack Warner and by the PNM. They are criminalizing hard-working businessmen. I want to read for you an article from the Newsday of only yesterday. Brothers and sisters, they go around in the country and where people building a nice big house, they work hard and things. They photo that, they do video, and they're bawling, look Munilal house. Some woman screaming, look $5 million or 5 years, look how much money. You know what they do? They take innocent people and criminalize them. And they are not only criminalizing the people, notice how the media does find themselves in Barakpur and Lengua village to find the house of businessmen. The PNM had a senator, I believe he's charged for abuse, for beating a woman somewhere. I want to tell you that just in case you forget. Just in case you forget. They have a PNM senator charged for abuse. You know, I don't know where he live in. Nobody never show a picture of his house. They have a fella named in an FBI indictment for money laundering. We don't see picture of them house, you know. But we see picture of businessman house in Lengua Barakpur. And in Kunjal Road. They can't find it with a GPS system, they can't find it. And they go down there to criminalize business people. They take a picture.
to make it a highlight to meet and greet with the party. We have seated
ladies and gentlemen, tonight I want you to make a pledge that you will not only come to the meetings with the flag and these thousands of persons here tonight, thousands here, you have to go back to your community and mobilize. Talk about the good work of this government, which they can't talk about. You know, Fitzgerald Hines, Rowley want to come back into government, imagine that, with Camille Robinson Regis. Huh? Fitzgerald Hines. They had a story in the papers the other day. They just had a story about ganja and he got excited. When time he hear that, he get excited. They want to bring back Hines, Colm Imber, Robinson with Jennifer Batiste, Franklin Khan. I say it on the platform, I don't fear. Franklin Khan established a company with his wife and his son, and they made $45 million from the EMBDC and the HDC. I mean, oh God, my wife can't put a nail in a door in a NHA house. And they had the gall when they're in office to form companies with their wives and make money. Yes, at HDC and elsewhere, EMBDC as well. And they want to come and talk about corruption. Rowley is saying, vote for he got to deal with corruption. Eh? When I hear that, I gone for air swab and I started to clean my hands. When I hear that one. That fella has been in public life, I believe, for about 30 years. Not one thing he has ever done to deal with corruption and good governance. He only raised the corruption issue when Manning fired him. That is when they kick his tail out, as Jerry Hadid will want to say. When they kick him out, he raised corruption. We came to Parliament. The Honorable Prime Minister told us, she said, go to Parliament and pass the procurement legislation that deals with issues of transparency, accountability, looking after the money, tendering and so on. You know Rowley and them support that? They support no law to deal with corruption. When we came to Parliament with other measures, today, under this government, we have reformed the Parliament. Once per month, the Prime Minister comes to Parliament there for a particular session. It's called Prime Minister's Question. How you find she does do that? Good? Wonderful, with grace, with charm, with intelligence. You feel proud. You feel proud. Correct? You feel proud. And the Prime Minister comes. They ask her about 50 questions they just come to ask. I mean, let me tell you, you have to have a little courage. You have to have courage inside you when Jack Warner get up to ask the government questions about corruption. You have to have courage. And they will question the Prime Minister on anything. Imagine the first question ever filed. Rowley wanted to know about a fish market in Carenage. The first question. So that, brothers and sisters, is the governance that the Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessar has brought to Trinidad and Tobago. And as we go forward and we mobilize, we will tell you much more. So brothers and sisters, thank you for your attention. Stand strong, stand tall, support the United National Congress and our coalition partners. Long live the United National Congress. I thank you. Good night.
And then you heard from the Honorable Rudal Munilal, bringing to you quite a colorful address tonight. He's addressed several issues in the public domain. Like I mentioned earlier, he addressed the issue of the house owned by the Muslim businessman. Of course, he closed. He addressed the issue of the house owned by the Muslim businessman. Of course, he closed. He addressed the issue of the house owned by the Muslim. So much more for you. This is CTV coverage of the UNC political meeting at the St.Helena Hindu School. We've got so much more to hear tonight from the Prime Minister, who will address us later on in the program, and you're live as well on Talk City 91.1 FM. Let's take you now to the Master of Ceremonies, who's addressing some of the members here tonight.
Jairam Simangal, Minister Ganga Singh, and of course, Dr. Greg Bissessar, with our Prime Minister, Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar. Let's hear it again for our members who have been working very hard over the last few years. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, tonight we are going to hear from a woman who was once the deputy leader of Jack Warner's party. Ask yourself, why would someone who was once so supportive of the ILP leave that party entirely? Let us welcome to say a few words this evening, Mrs. Anna Dewnarine, former deputy leader of the ILP.
There you heard tonight a featured speaker, not the Prime Minister, but in fact the former ILP deputy leader, Anna Dewnarine, coming to address us here, a surprise guest at this political meeting at the St. Helena Hindu School, live here on Talk City and CTV. We're going to hear from Anna Dewnarine, who will address us at this time.
Honorable Prime Minister Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, Ministers of Government, members of the People's Partnership, the family of the United National Congress, I thank you for your warm welcome, and it feels good to be home. Tonight, I stand before you seeking to right a wrong that was perpetrated against the family of the partnership and against you, the members of the United National Congress. But tonight I say to you, and I admit that I assisted the man that pulled off what can easily be described as the greatest political con job against you, the members of the United National Congress and the partnership. My friends, when Jack Warner asked me to assist him in the by-elections of Chaguanas West, I agreed to assist him. But why? I agreed to do so because Jack Warner answered me in clear and explicit terms. He told me that the findings of the Simmons report were nothing. They were a concoction of lies, he said. The Simmons report was nothing more than fabrications, Anna. Fabrications intended to discredit him and to destroy the influence that CONCACAF held in world politics. And I admit that, like a trusting and gullible child, I believed every single word that this man said to me. And I felt that this was a man that was wronged and that I had to stand up with him. And I trusted him when he told me that he had no intentions whatsoever of turning away from the partnership, and that he intended to return to the fold of the partnership. How many of you in Chaguanas West and how many of you here tonight, like me, remember him saying, I am going back to my constituency to seek revalidation, and then I will return to the partnership. And I further believed him when he looked me squarely in the eye. And he said, with the sincerest look of a benevolent grandfather, he said to me, he said, the PNM was the greatest blight to ever visit this country of ours. And he said that he was never PNM and that he would never be one to support them. And I sincerely believe those expectations that were delivered with sincerity. He looked me with a straight face on those occasions. And what did I do? I plunged headlong, making unimaginable personal sacrifices. I neglected my duties as a wife and as a mother and traversed the length and breadth of Chaguanas West with him. And the rest is now a footnote in the political history of our country, and a sad footnote as that. But that was the nature of the contract that I had with Jack Warner. It was not a written contract, but it was a contract nonetheless, a promise that we were going to return home to continue to fight the PNM. But he breached that contract. He breached that trust that I placed in him and that promise, and I resigned. My friends, the unmitigated shame and embarrassment that I now feel, and the shame that I feel as a former ILP member and as a woman and as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, that has led me to now return to the political platforms. And it now leads me. Yes, that was something I swore after I resigned in early 2014 I was never going to do. And it now leads me, and you have now given me the opportunity to ask Mr. Warner, how dare you lie unashamedly to me and to the people of Trinidad and Tobago? How dare you misuse the deep level of trust which I placed in the truthfulness of your assurances that you gave me? And when I look and I see you forming an unholy alliance with a party that you once cursed as the worst possible and in the worst possible form of venom, I ask myself, what manner of man is this? What manner of man is this that would seek to deflect the overwhelming evidence of decades of crookery allegedly perpetrated by you, Mr. Warner? The racketeering, the alleged money laundering, that was you. And I look on in amazement and I think to myself, why is he now attacking the Prime Minister? Was she there with him in FIFA when the alleged money laundering was going on? Was she there and part of the alleged money laundering in FIFA? And for several days I questioned myself, why? Why is it that he would attack her? What led him to do that? And then he said that he was in prison that night, and it had him thinking and reflecting. And he said the revelation that apparently caused him to go off on this tangent, the revelation was that, according to him, this is what he said, the Prime Minister allegedly signed the warrant in 15 minutes. But I asked myself, what was she supposed to do? Was she supposed to go to him first and seek his approval? Was she supposed to seek his permission to do so? And that she signed nothing, Madam Prime Minister, that is an entire story by itself. That is what he alleged. But you have said, Madam Prime Minister, on countless occasions, you have said that you will put the country first before any friendship. So if I knew that, why didn't he know that? But did that justify him now making these scandalous and spurious allegations? And what do these allegations amount to? It really and truly amounts to an affront to all the women, you and me. And how dare you, Mr. Warner, speak to women in such disparaging and disrespectful terms? Your unholy alliance with Dr. Rowley to form the gruesome twosome has now demonstrated that you are a man that will say and do anything to achieve your purpose. And tonight I say to you that despite what they say, this is not an alliance of principle, but this alliance is a manifestation of the expression, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Wrap it up now. And as Jack would ask all the time, Kamala, is that you? Tonight I'd ask Mr. Warner, is that you? That is not the Jack Warner that I know. The Jack Warner that I see today was not the Jack Warner that I stood next to in Chaguanas West. The Jack Warner I knew promised the people that I would not go down to the gutter. But Mr. Warner, that is where you have found yourself today. That promise that we will not go down to their level but bring them up to ours. Where has that gone? Now Jack Warner is parading the length and breadth, the nooks and crannies of Trinidad and Tobago, speaking to handfuls of people. But I tell you, I know, and I can tell you of the secret meetings, the winks, the nods, the secret handshakes, the clandestine conferences, but not tonight. I can tell you of the secret plans and deals, my friend, but not tonight. Brothers and sisters, I have reemerged to warn you, do not be fooled by the rantings of the gruesome twosome. They will betray you in matters of deeper consequence. I personally cannot live in a country governed by the gruesome twosome. And as I close, I say to you, there's talk all over about gloves, gloves, gloves. I don't care if the gloves are on, if the gloves are off. And that is why I have donned my political battle gear once again to stand up for the Prime Minister, for you and the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
And there you heard from...
I take this opportunity now, and it's my great pleasure to welcome the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Kamala Prasad-Bissessar.
We've just heard from the guest speaker tonight, Anna Deonarine, addressing this audience here, and she has put on several things in the public domain on the political campaign trail, if you will, outlining her reasoning for supporting Jack Warner in the by-election. And of course, she has returned home to the United National Congress. She's outlined in closing that she will support Prime Minister Kamala Prasad-Bissessar and the people of Trinidad and Tobago. In a very interesting development here tonight at the St.Helena Hindu School, our live coverage of the UNC's political meeting right here on CTV and Talk City 91.1 FM. We're getting ready to hear from Prime Minister Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, the political leader of the UNC and head of the People's Partnership Coalition. Let's take in the Prime Minister this time.
Put your hands together to our sister and a daughter of our soil, Anna Deonarine, who bear a heart to us all tonight. UNC posse, good evening. Good evening. Good evening. To all my colleagues in the audience, friends and family of the UNC, I say good evening to all of you. And let me remind you, today was the deadline date for filing nominations to be candidates for the UNC. Allow me tonight to thank all those good citizens who filed their nominations with the UNC, and we wish them well. The process now is for us to verify the responses to the questions asked in this nomination form. And today Rudy said, God promises a book. They have to fill out a whole book. This was the nomination form. We will verify the responses that have been given. and then we shall begin the screening process in a very short while. Now, in that nomination form, people had many questions to answer, because we have to be sure first that we select the best candidates to represent you, to be MPs in the Parliament of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And so, with your help in the screening process, we will call on the constituency executives to also give their versions, their recommendations. We will see and speak to each nominee, and then we shall make decisions. Well, I want to tell you tonight, I also filed my nomination. So I am now a nominee.